You're watching We All Be News Radio, News Free Dixie for the 21st century. I'm Thaddeus Matthews.
And once again, he's back in the house. I love talking to this young man because he knows his musical history, especially jazz. Once again, want to welcome in Mr. Ronald Hurd, who is here to talk about again. It's coming up again, the Jimmie Lunceford Legacy Awards program and other things going on. And let me say good afternoon to you, Ron. How are you, brother?
Jazz-tastically yours, Queen Sister.
Jazz-tastic. I like that. I like that. Jazz-tastic.
Yes, ma'am.
I love that. But before we talk about Jimmie Lunceford and people, and still I'm finding, Ron, that folks don't know about him.
Right.
Don't know about him. So I know it's coming. We're going to talk about it. But let's tell folks, because you spotlight on this, and tell our listeners, who is Jimmie Lunceford?
Jimmie Lunceford was a very proud black man who loved black people. He is credited with being the first person in the history of the world to teach jazz studies in a formal educational setting. And he did it with kids in North Memphis at Manassas High School, at the Manassas High School back in the 1920s, as a volunteer. And he took his best high school students, formed a pretty good popular dance band in the area. He actually used local radio, to promote the band. And he ended up taking these guys on the road, left Memphis in 1930 with his best school students and also buddies from Fisk University, where he graduated. He was also a Kappa. He was in major in social work and stuff like that. So he was a Fisk man. So 4 years later, in 1934, they was the house band at the Cotton Club up in New York City, in Harlem, USA, after Duke Ellington and Cab Calloway. And eventually they became the #1 attraction at the Apollo Theater for a whole decade. And this is basically a jazz orchestra. Like Jimmie Lunceford is credited with being one of the first people to have tailor-made suits in his band. Like they always dressed tailor-made suits. It was like the greatest show on earth. This is before it was made for social media and TV. Whereas like you had the trumpet section would throw their trumpets in the air and catch them where they played off, and catch them, then play where they left off. Dancing, singing, telling jokes, very interactive, very athletic. They were called the trained seals for their discipline as well as for their entertaining way of being. Mm-hmm. And what I love about Jimmie Lunceford, that he was not only a philanthropist, he was a humanitarian, what I call him, a humanitarian. He would come back to Memphis, sell out church auditorium on Beale Street, and give free musician clinics and concerts for the kids at Manassas High School. One of the people in the Rhythm Bombers back in the day who saw Mr. Lunceford come back to Memphis was Mr. Emerson Abel Jr., one of my good friends, Jagnas. He's a righteous Uncle star now. It'll be 10 years ago this summer. I can't believe it's been 10 years almost.
Wow.
And but he was amazed by Jimmie Lunceford. He liked the fact that he loved the tenor saxophonists from Kansas City that played for Mr. Lunceford, Joe Thomas's sound. So he kind of emulate that sound on his saxophone. And he ended up becoming one of the greatest music educators in the city of Memphis, or has ever known. Like, he actually was the band director at Manassas, and he kicked Isaac Hayes out the band.
Oh no!
Yeah, he ended up working for he kicked Isaac, Black Moses. Ended up working for Isaac at Stax and stuff. Did a lot of great things. He loved Isaac, man. He loved him, and he's also the co-founder of the Southern Heritage Classic. That actually was founded in his living room.
Yeah,
him and Fred Jones. But he had to connect. You think about it. He was a high school band director. Before that, a college band director at HBCUs. Proud product of Tennessee State. He had a lot of connections to make that happen. Also, he was a gifted artist. He designed the first logo, from my understanding, for the Southern Heritage Classic.
Wow.
So Mr. Abel was definitely a Renaissance man. And I always think about him when I think about Mr. Lunceford, because all the respect and pride he had about him. And I also think about Nat D. Williams, the great Nat D. Williams, who was pioneering.
Yeah.
Black radio was invented in Memphis.
Yeah.
WDIA.
That's right.
October 25th, 1948.
That's it. You got it, brother.
And Nat D. Williams was a teacher at Booker T.
Washington.
See, Memphis create these master teachers, master teachers, whether it be in religion or in education. We create some phenomenal teaching prodigies and geniuses, but yet we always known for some negative stuff, which is crazy to me. But getting back to that, Nat D. Williams said, let his burial spot in Memphis be a rallying point for black people. Let us not forget about this man who took young, unsophisticated black boys from North Memphis to the heights of musical eminence. Took them around the world and everything, and made them to men because he used that music program as a rites of passage to help young boys and girls become responsible adults. I remember talking to Catherine Perry Thomas, who was Manasseh's class in 1932, right before she passed. Her brother was Andrew Perry, who was in the band with Jimmie Lunceford at high school and turned pro with him. She said, Ron, by the time they graduated, you thought them guys were 25 or 30 years old. They were so mature. And then Mr. Lunceford, he was a cool, tall drinker. He was tall, dark, and handsome, Mr. Lunceford. He was a good-looking guy, very smart guy, a Gemini, very mysterious in a way. But thinking about that, I think about that. But also, he was an aviation pioneer where he owned and flew his own airplanes. This is back in the 30s.
Wait a minute. A black man had his own airplane.
During the Great Depression, yeah. He flew his own airplane, brought his first airplane for like $500,000 maybe in today's money. And, took flight lessons in 1939, brought his first airplane in 1940, would actually fly himself to concert gigs. So where is the movie about Mr. Lunceford? He's an aviation pioneer, a music pioneer, and a lover of black people. By the time he died, he was looking for a spot, a real estate, to start a retirement community for black musicians. So he was helping the young people and also, doing investing in music education programs throughout the country to keep kids out of trouble, black kids out of trouble. And he always was a social worker, but he used music as a way to bring community, to bring connectivity, to bring investment and love of people. And it was contagious with him because he spread it all around. But what's interesting about him, ended up passing away July 12th, 1947 up in Oregon, in Seaside, Oregon, this beach resort town on the Pacific Ocean on the coastal line of Oregon. And legend has it that he was arguing with the restaurant owner who did not want to serve black people. And I always tell people, I love Oregon. It's a beautiful place.
I've never been there.
Oh, man, you got to go there. That's why white folks want to keep it white. It's beautiful, pristine. It's just nice. It's amazing out there. But Oregon became a state in 1859. That's 2 years before the Civil War. So in this a constitution they had that black folks could not own property, work, or live in Oregon. That's in their state constitution. This ain't Mississippi. This ain't Alabama.
Whoa. Wait a minute, Ron. So the state of Oregon, in their constitution, they said black people couldn't have property. What else?
Could not work there, could not live there.
I wonder if it's still in their constitution.
I don't know. That's a good question because scholars talk about it, but there's a lot of things still around in our laws and stuff that shouldn't be, still
in Oregon.
Yeah, this is Oregon. Yeah, this is like y'all can look this up, basic search. But this, you go up to Oregon, there's hardly any of us up there.
I'm sure,
but it's beautiful up there. It's gorgeous. I mean, it's amazing geography. I mean, it's cool, but but
I'm just let me ask this question: do you know in your research of Jimmie Lunceford, why did he choose Oregon to go?
Well, because he was on a concert tour.
He was on
touring.
Okay.
And it was very popular, but allegedly the restaurant was located downtown Seaside. Allegedly the owner said they didn't have any hamburgers. They wanted hamburgers. They said we had beef sandwiches. So they ended up allegedly serving Jimmie Lunceford and his men. And my thing, I never get into with somebody fixing my food.
Right.
If I don't,
you don't.
I just leave. I'm not going to eat it. I'm a tourist. Exactly. I love food.
Yeah.
But I ain't going to eat it.
Yeah.
But he ate it allegedly, and he was signing autographs at the record shop right next to the venue called the Bungalow where they was going to play. He dropped dead allegedly. He was just 45 years young. So he allegedly had $1,500 for payroll on his person that disappeared.
Wow.
It kind of reminded me of Otis Redding's story when they found him on the plane up in Wisconsin. Allegedly, somebody say he had like $10,000 in a suitcase from like a couple of nights' work.
Yeah.
And back then, a salary back in '67, the average salary was $5,000 a year. Yeah. So this man made $10,000.
Back in the day, entertainers they kept cash money. They wanted cash money, and they kept it in.
They kept it.
And just like you hear the stories about Aretha.
Oh yeah, she was about her business. Yeah,
Aretha kept cash money.
Etta James,
tell them they didn't pay. They kept cash money, and they had it around. They kept the cash. They didn't want no checks.
No,
hey, Ron, I think I got that from them because Bev Johnson. I tell people, don't give me no checks.
I know that's right.
Cash money.
The cash money. They took that money though, like it disappeared.
Yeah.
Otis Redding. They said it was $10,000. It disappeared. The police say they don't know what happened to it. So I don't know.
Okay.
But Jimmie Lunceford had $1,500 on him. That's back in 1947 money. So that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money back then.
So that was the payroll. But the band didn't know he was dead until halfway through the concert. And allegedly people was coming out the bandstand and throwing up and doing combinations in the restroom and stuff like that because it was food poisoning, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Now, I went up there on the 70th anniversary week up the Seaside. They did a story about me coming from Memphis up there in a local paper.
Okay.
And the guy was actually a New York transplant who's a jazz musician. He did the story about me coming there trying to trace Jimmie Lunceford's last moments in his town. And the thing about it, I interviewed a town historian who was a white woman, but she was a young woman back then. She just, she had a love for Jimmie Lunceford. You could tell her voice inflection, how she appreciated the genius of the music and stuff like that. And she was there that night that he allegedly died, and the band just found out. And she got a different perspective of what happened versus what I read from different sources of what went on. Yeah. So allegedly they were denying black folks access to the band or to the concert because you're black. But she said she didn't see no problem with it. She didn't encounter that. But that was like, at the time I spoke, that was like over 70 years ago. 70 years ago when that happened.
Right. Wow. So I've always wanted, I don't know if I've ever asked you this, Ron, why have you been so interested? How did you get so interested in Jimmie Lunceford?
That's a great question because actually I started getting interested in jazz my freshman year in college.
Okay.
One of my most interesting professors I ever had in my life, teachers, a guy named Giuseppe Peroni. He's an ancestor now, but he was he was an Italian American dude from Boston. I'm a black dude from the South. It's like a Spike Lee movie, Do the Right Thing Part 2.
Right.
It's like the class was like 8 o'clock in the morning, Monday, Wednesdays, and sometimes I wasn't the best student. I learned, but I'm not the best student, but I know how to learn. Yeah. So one day, what got me to see things his way a little bit, he had played a documentary featuring Sun Ra. It's like Sun Ra was this cat from, he say he's from Saturn, but he's from Alabama. Okay. But he's the guy, he's really the father of, the godfather of funk in a way, because he was doing things in the late 40s and 50s that ended up, being part of Earth, Wind and Fire, Parliament, Funkadelic, Prince and all that. I remember Andre 3000 was on Rap City back in 2000, and the host asked him what he was reading. He said, I'm reading a biography about Sun Ra. He said, man, what you know about some Sun Ra? Well, 3 years later, The Love Below came out, and all them Grammys they won off that album. It was a double album, but Speaker Box and Love Below. But you could tell Andre 3000 was under the influence of Sun Ra, who was a music mystic. I mean, he was a brilliant philosopher and everything. So when I started getting hip to Sun Ra, he saw my interest because it was only 2 black people in the class, me and this other guy. He was sleeping when he saw them playing at the pyramids and all this space galactic garb on. He's like, huh? He went back to sleep. I said, huh? Yeah. It would spark something in my mind. Right. So the teacher started feeding my interest. He started sharing his jazz collection with me. Like he'll give me tapes from his jazz album collection. And he introduced me to Clifford Brown and Dinah Washington. Yeah. And Albert Ayler, Anthony Braxton, Duke Ellington, Mel Waldron. He really opened my ears up and opened my mind and my brain to receive this information. So when I started getting really deep into jazz, my first jazz album I think I brought was Giant Steps by John Coltrane. I ain't looked back since. And but I started seeing everything kept on coming back to Memphis. Everything kept on coming back to Memphis. You think about jazz, you both think about New Orleans, right? Maybe New York and Chicago. You don't think about Memphis. You think about blues, barbecue, gospel, perhaps the spirituals, but everything runs through Memphis.
It's like what Miles Davis said.
He said the 4 most important words in jazz history is Louis Armstrong and Charlie Parker. Well, Louis Armstrong's second wife is from Memphis, born and raised. Lil Harder Armstrong, February 3rd, 1898, off of Beale Street. She was the one that saw his superstar potential. Wow. But she was the piano player for, I call him Jegnas. I don't say mentor, I say Jegna. King Oliver called Louis to Chicago. He said, Louis, I want you to come to Chicago, play for me. All right, King Oliver. All right, Pops, I'll come up to Chicago. Yeah. And then Lil was saying, he called this little Louis to come to Chicago. And I saw little Louis. I said, ain't nothing little about him but his clothes. Jesus. And but what happened to her was her favorite musician was favorite trumpet player was a guy from New Orleans that I love too, Freddie Keppert. He was like the second king of jazz after Buddy Bolden, who was the first king of jazz. Buddy Bolden was a cornet. Well, they used to play cornets instead of trumpets a lot back in the day. But he was the king of jazz, and he actually had a nervous breakdown back in 1907. So his crown was passed to Freddie Keppert, who could have been the first jazz musician in history to record, but he was paranoid. He's from New Orleans, so about the voodoo. said, man, they're going to steal my sound. They're going to steal my style. I don't want to record. So he could have been the first person in the history of the world to record what they call jazz music, but he turned it down. And so that was her favorite trumpet player. But what got her to look at things a different way was when King Oliver told her something that she didn't tell Louis until decades later after King Oliver was passed. And she said he was very hurt about it. But, that's God.
Yeah. King
Oliver told her, look, Lil, that Louis is a better horn player than me, but he'll never be a star because he don't have confidence in himself. Like they'll go into recording studios and they'll be recording like this is primitive, not like this setup here, this primitive recording equipment. Yes. Louis Armstrong was so demanding and loud in his cornet, they forced him to stay 50 feet away from the recording from everybody else. So he won't overwhelm everybody else's recording ability. So she started listening to what King Oliver is saying, and she started doing that Beyonce. I'm going to upgrade him. I'm going to upgrade little Louis. He going to be the king. The king. So she actually did that. She was married herself to another person. And Louis was married to a person. His first wife was a prostitute named Daisy Parker. Like, you talk about toxic. When she used to get mad at Louis, she used to throw bricks at his head.
Oh, wow.
And but she defended his honor, too. She'll fight about her Louis in saloons and stuff. She got stabbed, I think, maybe a couple of times fighting over Louis and then putting respect on his name.
Wow. Was that down in New Orleans?
In New Orleans, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he and Lil, they left their first, wild husband thing and they got married. And she set him on his way. She gave King Oliver the walking papers for Louis. And she made sure he went to New York where he became a star with the Fletcher Henderson Orchestra, which was the biggest, most popular orchestra in all the land back in the early 20s. They used to have a residency at the Roseland Ballroom. They closed down maybe a decade or so ago. I think Lady Gaga was the last act there. So it was a very prominent dance music venue. So what my thing about that is that Memphis is powerful because everywhere Louis went, it was Memphis people that upgraded him, whether it be his second wife, Lil Hardy Armstrong. Even when he was in Chicago and he was playing at the Vendome Theater, the orchestra was led by Erskine Tate, who was a Memphian. He was born and raised in Memphian, and he played for W.C. Handy. So he like, oh man, like W.C. Handy just. And when W.C. Handy heard Louis played on the riverboats coming up and down the Mississippi. But he said it's when he heard him play in the Vendome Theater under one of his proteges that really caught his eye about who he was. He could see, Louis was a race man. He was a proud black man. Yeah. He loved performing for his people, giving his best. But he was playing for a Memphis cat. You know what I'm saying? He used to play for W.C. Handy. Then when we went to New York, the top trumpet player in New York was a guy named Johnny Dunn, who was born and raised in Memphis and played for W.C. Handy. Then went with the Fletcher Henderson Orchestra. One of the top early jazz clarinetists was a guy named Buster Bailey, who was born and raised in Memphis and played for W.C. Handy, who was from Florence, Alabama. But, also another cat from Florence, Alabama was Sam Phillips, the guy who founded Sun Records.
Yeah, Sun Records.
Yeah, so something about Alabama, something about Mississippi, something about Tennessee, something about us down here.
Okay. So did I was asking you your interest in, that's how you got interested in Jimmie Lunceford. Was Louis Armstrong around with Jimmie Lunceford?
They're about, because Jimmie Lunceford was born June 6, 1902. Louis was born August the 4th. 1901. So they was around. Okay. And getting back to Lunceford, you look at the Lunceford thing, Memphis was a jazz mecca in his own right. Like I said, Louis Armstrong wife from here. Right. Also Charlie Parker, the great bird. Before they had Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, you had, Charlie Parker, the Birdman, the real Birdman, whose dad is from Memphis. Okay. So these are two of the most important musicians in jazz history, arguably. This is National Jazz Appreciation Month, and they all got Memphis connections. Wow. So that's the thing. But with Lunceford, he was here at the same time living in Memphis as Mary Lou Williams, who's really the godmother of bebop, of modern jazz. Oh. Mary Lou Williams was a child piano prodigy, born in Atlanta, raised in Pittsburgh, but she was married to a Memphis cat. They love these Memphis people. His name was John Overton Williams. Yeah. John Overton Williams was a saxophonist for Andy Kirk, and she also did arrangements and stuff for Andy Kirk. And I think Andy Kirk and Jimmie Lunceford actually were raised in Denver together. They had the same music teacher, Wilberforce Whiteman, who was the father of Paul Whiteman, who was the guy who was the so-called king of jazz because he was a white man, who also commissioned George Gershwin to do Rhapsody in Blue. Wow. So all those guys come out this one Wilberforce Whiteman dude who thought that blacks and whites should have the right to a sound music education growing up.
Right. So Ron, you thought, well, why not celebrate Jimmie Lunceford?
That's
That's
right.
what you've been doing, and you've been doing with your organization. How long now?
We started in 2007. So we started the week format in 2017. So we've been doing it for that long. It's weird, like this the person nobody hey, he's backed by unpopular demand.
Yeah.
It was a guy named Preston Lauterbach. He's a great music journalist. He's a friend of mine. He lives in Virginia in the Blue Ridge Mountains. He actually lives in the mountains, and that's interesting. But
yeah.
he did an article for the Memphis Flyer back the summer of 2007. And had a picture of Jimmie Lunceford on the front saying, backed by unpopular demand. Like, why is this man not better known in the city that he got his start in? And so you start reading that. It's like he said, it's like you having a baseball Hall of Fame with no Willie Mays in it.
Right.
That's what Jimmie Lunceford, because Jimmie Lunceford, like Glenn Miller said, Jimmie was great. Duke Ellington is remarkable. Duke is great. Count is remarkable. But Lunceford tops them both in terms of music presentation. Nobody was doing what he was doing with the visuals as well as with the music. Everybody wanted that sound. And that's part of the Memphis music sound to me. Like that 2-beat he had was very distinctive, instinctive. So everybody wanted that sound, but how is it that he's the most popular band person among black people in America? They called him Harlem Express. Like Quincy Jones, Miles Davis, Horace Silver, they all talking about how Jimmie Lunceford was their music hero growing up because he used to listen to him on the radio, broadcasting from the Cotton Club. Joe Louis, the Brown Bomber, his favorite band was Jimmie Lunceford.
Wow.
That's the Brown Bomber, arguably the greatest. When people talk about Ali, but Joe had it
Louis
for 12 years.
Yeah.
The Brown Bomber, come on, man. He said Jimmie was the best. That's Joe Louis saying it. But if we don't write our history and tell our stories, like a lot of the people that love Lunceford, they gone now.
Yeah.
They didn't become scholars. They didn't write books about it. They didn't do documentaries about it. They off the planet. I think it ain't too many people around that heard Lunceford. I could be wrong, but not in live.
So are his recordings still around?
Oh, most definitely. You could get them. You can stream them. It's on YouTube and everything.
Oh, okay.
He got a song said, "I've been through Memphis last night." That's how much he loved Memphis. He loved Memphis enough to be buried in Memphis. And he was here for this short period of time in his life, but it had such a profound impact on what he became and his contribution. So why not remember that? Because my thing is, you got people from around the world come to Memphis, the most dangerous place. Man, y'all hang around people I don't hang around with.
Right.
Like, why are you trying to find those people for?
Right.
You got Brother Ron and Dr. Callagher and Sister Bev Johnson doing positive stuff. Y'all just want to go for the stank. I don't hang around those people.
Right.
Because the people you hang around, they a reflection of you.
Come on, brother.
They your mirror. That's your tribe. So I don't hang around low vibrational, degenerate people.
I tell my young folks, my niece and nephew, hang around people who are a reflection of you.
That's right.
Yeah. So Jimmie Lunceford, he's buried
in Elmwood Cemetery.
In Elmwood.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was locked in Elmwood for 2 hours a couple weeks ago.
You were locked in there.
They locked me inside there. But it was all, I like cemeteries. I love eating in cemeteries because they don't ask you for your food. Y'all hang out there for hours to meditate.
Well, at Elmwood it is, and people go there for tour. It's a beautiful place.
But it's a lot of black history. It's a lot of us is buried there that need to be resurrected out the ground. So I was actually there because the one I honorees for this year is Sister Thea Bowman. She's a singing nun. She's on her way to becoming a saint recognized by the Catholic Church. But she's actually the inspiration for Sister Act. Harry Belafonte saw her on 60 Minutes with Mike Wallace, and he was so amazed because she asked Mike, say black is beautiful. Mike, say black is beautiful. Oh, black is beautiful. And then Harry Belafonte, oh my God, who is this woman? Yeah. She's a saint. She's singing. She's talking about black people. We God's people. So he actually hired. He wanted to do her biopic. Hollywood produced biopic. He got Whoopi Goldberg to get interested in the project. Whoopi Goldberg was supposed to play her in her biopic.
Wow.
And that fell through after she died. She died in March 30th, 1990 from complications from cancer. But several years later, guess what came out? Sister Act, which is based on her. But the reason why they didn't do a story for her is because she wasn't a foul person. She didn't have no degenerate background. She didn't have no drug problems. She wasn't she was a child of God that confessed her faith at the age of 9 and dedicated herself to serving her people through God.
Wow. We are talking with Ron Hurd. Y'all know Ron Hurd, this brother. He knows his jazz history. He knows music history. When we come back around, we're going to tell what's coming up.
That's right.
The Jimmie Lunceford Legacy Awards program. If you all have a question for Mr. Ron Hurd, we invite you to call now, 901-535-9342, 800-503-9342, 833-535-9342. If you haven't heard, you're learning this morning about the man, Jimmie Lunceford, right here on WDIA.
The Bev Johnson Show.
Whether you're in Memphis or in a sinkhole somewhere, thank you for listening to the Bev Johnson Show on WDIA Memphis. You're listening to the Bev Johnson Show. Here's Bev Johnson.
And I am talking with the amazing, I love him, Ronald Hurd. We're talking about Jimmie Lunceford. We're going to our phone lines to talk with you. Hi, Eric.
Hello, my beautiful Bev, my favorite talk show host, Hall of Famer. How you doing today, Queen?
I'm doing well, Eric, and yourself.
I'm just making it. I'm hopping, but I ain't stopping. And how you doing, Mr. Lunceford?
No, that's Mr. Hurd. Is Ron Hurd. We talk about Jimmie Lunceford.
Yes, sir. Thank
Sorry.
you.
Oops.
Oh, you're all right.
Good to have you. And, I like your historical academia because I'm so much of a historian. And just before I called, I heard that you said Louis Armstrong. Mm-hmm. And I said that right before you said, and I know about W.C. Handy, too. And it's good to get enriched in our jazz culture. Everybody talk about New Orleans, but Memphis was one of the jazz venue houses.
That's right.
But let me ask you this: I noticed you said something about everybody talk about Muhammad Ali, but you said about Joe Louis. What is it about Joe Louis?
Joe Louis was amazing. He was a fighter for the race too. I mean, he stood up against Hitler and fascism and all the wrong things at home.
Yeah,
like,
Nazis.
The thing about Joe Louis that people don't give enough credit to is that, he was, I would say, functioning illiterate, but he had a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that actually got Jackie Robinson into officer school. He was the one that recommended Jackie Robinson. Joe Louis did. The baseball player.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, you don't think, so Joe Louis, you don't think that he was part of the Euro Masonic power structure to be able to do that? Now, I admire Joe Louis. Don't get me wrong.
I think he saw himself as a patriot, though. Like, America misused Joe Louis. They disrespected him. He should never died the way he died on the IRS, all this money.
I agree.
This man was donating money. He gave back welfare money. Just say, I believe in, pull myself up by the bootstraps. And when I needed the help, I received the help. Now I want to give it back and pay it forward. He actually got in trouble for doing work for Uncle Sam, like, doing boxing exhibitions during the war and stuff like that, and not getting his tax situation taken care of. And they just took advantage of Joe. I think he was a casualty of war.
Yeah. Okay, Eric.
We had okay, Bev. Hey, Bev, I love you and keep doing. Hey, it's Bev Johnson. It's your girlfriend on WDIA 1070.
Thank you, Eric.
Have a good day.
You too.
Blessings. Thank you,
Bye-bye. Hi, Carl.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are both of you today?
Doing well, Carl,
excellent.
and yourself.
I am okay. 2 questions, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be your 4 people on Mount Rushmore? And is there a place in which you like to perform in which you have not performed at yet? I would hail and listen. Thank you.
Okay, and you're talking about jazz artists on Mount Rushmore. Yeah, Carl. Okay, Carl. I guess the 4 he said you would think wrong.
That's funny. That's good. Well, you got to put Louis Armstrong on there. You got to put Charlie Parker on there. That leaves 2. And it's like, why not Billie Holiday? I love Billie Holiday.
Oh, yeah. I love Billie Holiday. I love Billie Holiday. If I had to do some women, I would do Billie Holiday.
That's right.
Sarah Vaughan.
Oh, yeah.
I like Ella.
You like Ella?
Yeah. And then I would put I don't know if she's jazz now, Phyllis Hyman.
Oh, well, no, that's great.
That's great. That would be if I did women on that, that's what I would do, Rod. Hey, yeah.
See, that's an interesting take because I do love, I love Billie Holiday as well. I love Sarah, Ella. Who I love is Dinah Washington.
Oh, yeah. Dinah. Yeah, I do like
her
Dinah.
versatility.
Yeah.
But I guess
you had 2 guys. You had
2 guys.
You had Louis
and Charlie Parker and Billie Holiday.
Yeah, and Billie Holiday. One more.
Oh my God. This is like because what I like about jazz is just no right or wrong to it. Like, whatever your favorite is your favorite,
Yes, yeah.
But I'm thinking about, if I look in terms of impact and all that, I have to say John Coltrane.
Okay. All right.
Wait a minute, roll it back.
Roll it back.
Oh, no, I can't do that.
You got so much.
Yeah, I got to be right, because, okay, I do it like this. I say Louis Armstrong, Charlie Parker, Billie Holiday, and Duke Ellington.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's better.
That's better. WDIA. Hi, my David.
Hey, Bev. Hey. Thanks for taking my call. This is an easy one for me because I've already picked mine. I got 2 other shirts.
You out there in that element, aren't you, David?
Chasing tornadoes, sir.
Yeah, that
twisted.
The wind is kind of coming there. I don't know if you're walking or you need to turn another way because I know you're outside.
Yeah, is that better or not?
That's a little better. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I had to pick up some shoes, like I told you, from my yard. But anyway, hold on a second. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Louis Armstrong, Miss Billie Holiday, Mr. John Coltrane, and Mr. Thelonious Monk. Because as soon as I heard them play, I said, what in the world? Wow, yes. That is something else. So that's my 4 on Rushmore call. But let me thank you first, brother, for what you're doing for us. I had no idea. My jazz began with Mr. Wynton Marsalis, and his arrogant tale and some of the stuff he said about Stevie Wonder pissed me off, but I still looked into the music. And my first album was Hot House Flowers, which I didn't really like, but I went over to the public library and I got a CD by Mr. Louis Armstrong on the Verve series, which I can no longer find because I've been looking for that. And once hearing Mr. Louis Armstrong, I got it.
Yes, sir.
I got it.
Yes, sir.
And I've been a fan ever since. So, but let me ask you this, brother. And I never knew. Brother Mo Lee, who calls, Bev, educated me on how popular Mr. Lunceford was in New York City. His mother was a pianist. And she had basically all his records. So it is interesting to me that the only consistent thing and profitable thing and things that works in Memphis is music, and yet we treat it so bad. I don't understand that. Well, I do understand it, but we'll go to somewhere else. Let me say this, man. Let me ask you this, because this is a question I had with Ron Wynn, who's a great writer in music as well. Why do you think that more interpretation by jazz artists don't do more interpretation of Motown, Philly International, and Stax? Stax is a catalog and music that scares me, Bev, because as my good friend DK used to say many times, not about music, but other things, they go to the heart of the matter. Ain't no platitude. We're going to deal with this. That's the way it is. So why do you think that there aren't more interpretations of those catalogs from a jazz perspective, since we know Mr. Gordy was a big jazz fan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And I hang up and listen to your answer. Thank you both.
Thank you, David. Bye-bye.
That's interesting. I'm thanking for that input. He said DK. It was DK Pope who just passed.
I don't know.
Okay. I knew DK
Pope.
Yeah.
That's who he's talking about.
DK was great, man.
Yes.
I always support a real community guy.
Yeah.
That's a good question, because you know what's funny? It's not funny. A lot of those the original recordings was done by jazz musicians.
Yeah.
As the studio musicians. You look at what they call it, that Motown documentary came out some years back. You know, In the Shadow of Motown, something like that.
The Funk Brothers.
Yeah, look at their background. A lot of them were jazz musicians. Quincy Jones talk about, that ain't Ringo Starr on there. That's this jazz dude that we got.
And
we
like-
told Ringo get a tea or some crumpets or something.
Right.
We let the jazz
and you're
guy
right,
come
like
in there.
some of the folks at Steps, I think, like my former church, Floyd Newman and all those,
Oh,
those
yeah.
people, they
Those
play
jazz guys.
Yeah.
They had a jazz blues background,
Yeah.
so
Bowlegs Miller.
Bowlegs Miller. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just like I just think it comes down to what they pushing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like you look at the hip hop stuff and rap. A lot of the rap music I like is the ones when they sample the old soul stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
me too.
Curtis Mayfield or Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
You look at Kendrick Lamar, his big hit, Luther is not him, it's Luther.
Yeah.
Him sampling Luther Vandross, who's been gone for over 20 years, I find it hard to believe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Let me go to our phone line. WDIA. Hi, caller.
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I say morning because I'm calling from Long Beach, California.
Yeah,
Oh, West
it's
Side.
still morning in there. Okay.
I love
Good
Cali.
morning. Good morning. Look here, crew. I haven't heard you mention my protege, which I think should be on Mount Rushmore, Mulgrew Miller.
Okay.
Are you familiar
It's
with
the piano
Memphis?
player, right? Piano player, right?
Yes, yes, from the Mississippi Delta.
Mm-hmm.
He was very instrumental during the civil rights movement because we're from, like I say, from Greenwood.
Yeah, Greenwood.
And he went on to be just awesome. He played for the Duke Ellington. Well, matter of fact, he did the orchestra for. I'm just joy just getting on the radio this morning from California.
Good to have you.
No, that's the serious part. He was just awesome, and he passed away a few years ago, but he's still being honored all over the world. He was a renowned musician, and I just hadn't heard you mention him, but he was just awesome. Look into him and speak on his grandeur, as I'll say. And a lot of young people can pick up on some of the things he put out there because he was just truly awesome. And you guys, I want you to have a wonderful Easter.
Thank you.
And you too, Shirley. And thank you for calling and listening in California.
Oh, we do. I have some friends that are from the South, and we all still listen to WDIA.
Well,
I promote it because, see, I grew up on WDIA, and you were talking about the guy that sing, Otis Redding.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to WDIA the night that they broadcast, when he passed away.
Wow.
And it was so emotional that I still think about that today. But no, I can go back in history on a lot of things. So far as Harry Belafonte, met him. He was on our porch delivering the money with Sidney Poitier the day that, the morning that they arrived in Mississippi. That was my house. You hear me? That was my house.
Wow.
Thank you.
That was my mother's house, and we woke up to them putting on the rally for that morning, but they had just escaped the Ku Klux Klan the night before. Now, Mississippi is not known for the jazz, but it is known for a lot of the blues.
Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with Mississippi John Hurt.
Yeah.
The grandfather. And the reason I say this is because we were going to parochial school, and we had to stand on the front porch every morning waiting on the bus, but we listened to him singing and plucking the guitar, and it was amazing to think that we grew up around that type of music, and nobody really ever talks about it. But look into John Hurt, Mississippi John Hurt.
Okay.
He was way back from maybe 1890s. But believe it or not, I'm only 70.
Okay.
During that time, But anyway, we'll go there again. But
Yeah,
I
and
really
Shirley,
enjoyed-
and I will have Ron back because he has a wealth of knowledge on this music and jazz. And again, thank you, Shirley, for listening.
Enjoy and thank you so much, and have a wonderful holiday weekend.
Likewise.
You too, and
Thank
happy
you.
Easter to you. Bye bye, Shirley.
Thank you.
Bye bye. That was nice,
That's
Ron.
cool.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, we got to talk about what's coming up, the Jimmie Lunceford Legacy Awards program. Come on, tell us about that, brother.
Definitely gonna tell. Well, basically, we're gonna have it on April 27th at Overton High School on Lanier. Out in the auditorium. It's gonna be from 5 to 8. Doors open at 4. We honoring people like I said, Sister Thea Bowman. She's our posthumous homecoming queen. Also, our posthumous homecoming king is Clarence Big Miller from out of Kansas City. He was actually my father's mother's first cousin.
Wow.
Yeah, but he's a big jazz hero up in Canada. They got a big statue of him up in Edmonton.
Okay.
Where I believe he's buried. And also, lively homecoming court includes King DJ Spanish Fly, who is one of the fathers of the Memphis juking culture back in the day.
Yeah.
In Club No Name and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we're going to honor him. Because, like, everybody love sprinkle a little Memphis, sprinkle a little bit Memphis around the world.
Right.
They get all these Grammys and accolades, but they got to go back to the source, the sauce. People like DJ Spanish Fly. So we're going to honor him. And also our queen is Miss Deborah Sweeney. Great, artist, singer, and also advocate for the music. The Sunset Jazz at the Court Square thing she does every year. So we're gonna honor her as our queen. Like you was our queen in 2021. We appreciate that so much.
I appreciate you doing that. Yeah,
definitely our royalty. And also I guess Prince is Donald Richard. He's a brilliant, a very inspirational middle school band director. And also another Prince we have in is Power. He's a rapper, entrepreneur. Him and his wife Future, who's our princess. They run Nappy by Nature on American Way. And also they're reggae artists, rappers, and stuff like that. And he's an actor. He was in a great movie, locally produced movie named Troublesome, that was produced and directed by Jason Martin. And he had a big leading part in that. So he got some shine on that. So we're going to keep on shining on him.
Yes.
So, wax on, wax off, shine bright, And also some people, I guess it's the homecoming court. I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so also some people we're doing is people that's doing work in the community or who have done work in the community, like the late state rep Barbara Cooper. We're going to honor her contribution. She actually was a rhythm bomber when Lunceford used to come through back in the day.
Wow.
So she could recall Jimmie Lunceford coming through Memphis last night, whatever. But also very much alive Johnny Turner.
Oh, yeah.
Our sister, I know her as a great woman, great public servant. Some other people as well, some surprises. Also, we're going to honor Tom Lee.
Okay.
Because 100 years, on May the 8th will be 100 years when he saved all them white people from drowning.
Wow.
So that's a mixed bag because, I talked to old timers or elders. They talked about how it was growing up. They used to throw rocks at Tom Lee's home up in North Memphis. You say them white people that they got black folks enslaved and all that. But he was a humanitarian. I think he did something. Yeah. The fact that he saved that many people, he didn't know how to swim. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
So that should be not. And also when people call people Uncle Tom, that's not a put down. That's actually a respect because Uncle Tom, the actual Uncle Tom, was a race man who saved black people's lives.
Wow.
So they use Uncle Tom to mean bad when Uncle Tom is actually for good for black people.
Tell them, bro.
So, it's funny. It's not funny, but, they had that the obelisk, whatever, down on Tom Lee Park. That was dedicated, in 54. He was a worthy Negro.
Yeah.
And God said, hell no, we're going to strike that down. And they put up the stuff with, like, the live action Tom Lee.
Yeah.
You remember when that flood happened back in the spring of 2011?
Right.
And that water crest right up to the bottom of that boat. Like, it was actually like, God
I remember that,
Yeah, so, that's God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So Tom Lee was, God was working through him to do that.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Yeah. So again, Ron, it's going to happen on April 27th.
April 27th.
At Fraser?
No, at Overton High School.
Overton High School. Is there a cost?
No, it's free for y'all. It's a cost for me. It's free for
I know.
y'all.
Bless your heart.
It's free, but we trying to get people aware.
But you ask people for donations.
Oh, yeah. They could contact us. My phone number, you can call or text is 901-299-4355. That's 901-299-4355. So you could call to get more information, and we'll have flyers and stuff. But also we We did the Four Pillow Massacre reflaying ceremony earlier this month.
Yeah.
And we got an art show using our art to tell our stories, part 4. That's going to be viewed for free down at the Withers Gallery, 333 Bill Street.
When is that going to happen?
It's happening now. We had the opening. It opened on April the 5th. It ends April 30th. And we had the opening reception on the anniversary of the Four Pillow Massacre. It was April 12th. And it's out there.
So people can go down there and look at that.
Great talented artist is out there. And like I said, we're going to have feature the award-winning Overton Orchestra choir, Brother Quentin Rayford, who was a classmate of mine.
Okay.
He was a student of Dr. Lulu Hedgeman, who passed our senior year. He has taken over that choir, and now they are just winning things everywhere.
Yes,
I mean, they're on their way. And also we have Maestro Brandon Doggett of the band program. He's going to be contributing as well as other people, other local acts and other individuals. And another person who we're going to honor as well is so many people, but Thaddeus Matthews. We got to do the custom pastor.
Okay. All right. Well, you're on the road, brother. But I love when you come and you give us this history, this musical history. And Brother Ron, will you come back again? And I know you be working hard, but I want you to come back.
Yes, ma'am. I'll come back. You know
what? I'm gonna get you back in June is Black
Music Month. It still is.
So we're gonna make a date that we're gonna get you back in June, and because I could talk to you for 2 whole hours, because So we're gonna promise.
Well, I guess you could do that. I don't know how your schedule is. Like, we do an annual reflaying ceremony for Mr. Lunceford at Elmwood. So I could probably do it before then to get more people come out.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, stay in contact. Well, I got your contact.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I know your mama.
Y'all some Deltas. Man.
Yeah, we're some Deltas. So again, the awards program, give that date and where it's going to be again.
It's going to be Sunday, April the 27th from 5 to 8 p.m. at Overton High School auditorium. That's on Lanier.
All right.
Go Overton High. It's free for y'all to come on out and tell your friend.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
I appreciate you.
You love you madly.
I love you madly, too. Lord, good information. Thank y'all. Thank you so very much, Mr. Ronald Hurd in the house.